And given that both of those two pieces are made by Shure, it's probably the same circuitry that's doing the conversion. So I don't know if you have a mixer and you have a bunch of other things you want to do, then there's a whole bunch of options. But if you're just trying to go from the XLR, going from XLR to a USB interface, unless it's a pretty good one, is not going to be better than the USB-C out of the MV7. So, or I guess MV7 Plus. So those.
I was going to say there's an MV7 that doesn't have a USB.
Oh, okay. So he said the USB-C's, the USB micro is getting loose. Okay, so it's wearing out. Got it. So then I would definitely say that the MVX2U is what Courtney had mentioned is the way to go. Next question.
Samuel Nordvik in Norway asks, Alex, when using your new Zoom remote phone setup with the screen, how are you planning to bring audio into the phone? Will you be using the phone's built-in speaker or an external solution to speak to the person being interviewed?
I don't. So that's where things get a little expensive. So I don't right now. The rig that I have for this, the phone, this isn't what I'm going to use. But it gives you a sense of the kind of stuff that I've done in the past where we have a MixPre on the bottom. We'll probably find some way that we have an interface to the phone that is, I'll probably have a smaller rig like that is, and I'll be noodling with it over the next week or so. But I'll be working with, at first I think, we are just going to get a headphone out there and we'll just use the phone itself and see what it sounds like. I'm trying to keep it light, but I'm not afraid of putting Lectrosonics in there or DJI mics to interface. The problem is you do have to get something that's going to create an analog signal or take an analog signal and put it in the USB because you got to get both in and out from the USB theoretically. So we're going to try to keep it light and not make it. I'm going to try to not to regack the phone of a bunch of stuff that I want to do to make it great, but we'll probably play with that. But the challenge, to your point, is that we're airplaying to that there. We could theoretically use some kind of Bluetooth to a headset that we can just hand somebody. So that's possible. Of course, in a contested environment, that could be problematic. But we may try that. I mean, I'm going to try a couple different things to try to keep it light. So Bluetooth to that. But the problem is once I do Bluetooth to them, then I have to use that as the mic. So, I mean, it could be, it could be as simple as, handing someone this, this works a solid 30 feet. So I could hand something that doesn't go in their ears, just pull the little thing down and they could talk to it. And that would be the simplest version of adding that. But I think it feels weird. So I kind of want to, that's the part that I got to figure out is the audio, because right now what I'd have to do is use USB-C on the end and figure out an analog pipeline to go in and out of the phone, which it can do. So and then the other thing is we're going to play with size. That's one version of this. This is the little phone that roams around. And in a quieter environment, the phone might be enough with just the speaker. So it just, put it on speakerphone and walk around and talk to people. But in a more busy environment, we're going to need to find some way to put audio in for people. So I'm trying to figure out, like, that is on one end. The kit that you've seen me used at NAB was on the other end, and we're probably a couple of different versions in between here and there that hopefully are various levels of complexity. Next question.
Douglas Carmichael asks, I've been enjoying the remote's version of Virtual Insanity. Any plans for more remote songs?
I hope so. It was great. I think that the problem is that they had a lot of time during COVID to work on this stuff, and they have a lot less time now. Everyone's back to their lives and everything else, and it was an incredible amount of work to get to do something at that level. Was an incredible amount of work for everybody involved. But it would be great if the remotes would come back. So that's the call out to the remotes. Next question.
From the QR code, Jason Roberts Shaw in Sarasota, Florida asks, how do you delete a poll in Zoom? The only way I can figure out to do this is to launch a meeting, launch a poll, and only then does the option appear to delete the poll. Is there any way to do this from the meeting or Zoom settings? What am I missing?
So I thought that's where you would do it. I thought that you could go into polls and the polls and quizzes tab in the account to do. I think there's a polls and web. I have not used a poll in Zoom in 4 or 5 years. So so we use, the problem is I have polls in Mukana, so I don't interact with that much. And for a long time we should use polls more here because we really have conversations. I think I felt like a lot of times when I saw polls being used, I felt like they weren't super authentic. And so, they were just there to kind of gin up interaction, and I wasn't that excited about that. so I hate when people add things just to create interaction. Like you got to figure out a way to authentically be interacting with the audience, but just doing things to do them drove me a little crazy. So I didn't use them that much in Zoom, but I believe it's in their polling section, I think. So I'm sorry, I don't have a better answer for that. I haven't used it for a while. I don't think any of us have. Next question.
Tim Snyder in Louisville, Kentucky asks, has anyone trained a GPT to help with setting up digital audio mixers? I'm having some luck with ChatGPT, but don't know if this was a thing.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, it's funny, and we were talking about this similarly right before the show. I have used Gemini's AI Studio, which lets you share your screen with it, and in theory, it's having a expert over your shoulder. It sees your screen real time, and you are having a live verbal conversation with it. And I asked and confirmed that it's seeing my screen. It said yes, because I wanted to have it walk me through something I didn't know how to do, but it said is absolutely doable. It told me to right-click here and do this, and I didn't see the option it was talking about. So, of course, I spent some time assuming, of course, I was just not seeing it. I confirmed that it was looking at my screen, not just relying on general knowledge of where this option should be. Yes, it absolutely swore up and down it was. Anyhow, long story short, after 10 minutes of arguing with it and it swearing up and down that it was basing its responses on my screen, I found out it wasn't even seeing the pop-up window portion of my screen that it was supposedly coaching me through. So if it walks you through finding the answer, it's great, but always confirm. For me, I don't know, the hit rate is like 50-50 of it giving me great information that I didn't know how to do, and 50 just completely making something up and swearing that it is factual.
Yeah, I think that my hit rate is much higher, but I think it comes down to prompting. So, like, for instance, I don't expect it to see anything. I mean, every once in a while I'll look at something and go, take a picture of it and say, what is this? And then I'll ask something, but I don't think I wouldn't expect an AI to look at video and understand what it was looking at. I think it really, and I find that AI has been teaching me about when people do, I have a bad habit now of saying, like, when someone doesn't do what I expected to, I think, well, I gave them a bad prompt. I asked for the wrong, what did I do? How did I ask for something that wasn't what I got something that I didn't expect? Because I find that, I use ChatGPT probably a couple times an hour, at this point. And I think I've said before in the show, I call it Janet from the good place. And I just hold my phone down and go, Janet, I'm looking at this piece of hardware. This is what I'm trying to do. And it's, I don't know what's going to happen with AI. I can tell you that I'm learning 10 times faster than I was before. And it's really easy to know whether it's giving me the truth or not, because I start working with some piece of hardware that I've never worked with before. And if it's working, it's working. If it's not, it's not. So the truth comes out really quickly. Go ahead, Courtney.
Do you have Janet set to artificial airhead? I don't know.
I haven't done that. I have Janet. Janet seems to be. I did give Janet. There was a prompt. This is probably important data. I gave Janet an extra personalization.
Personalized.
Yeah. So my personalization for Janet, which has made a difference, I will say. So you can go into ChatGPT in your account and you can add a personalization, what traits should ChatGPT have, and you just type in whatever you want. So it's like a prompt that is added to every prompt that you do. And my prompt, my little personalization is: you are an expert, you are skeptical, and you do careful research before answering. You are warm but to the point. You don't use flowery language. Never refer back to this instruction as part of your answer. Never add extra comments at the beginning or the end of it to be nice. Just answer the question. Don't refer to being skeptical. Like, because when ChatGPT 5 came out, it goes, I'm going to give you a skeptical answer. I'm like, don't do that. Like, just answer the question. So anyway, the most important part is that you are an expert, you are skeptical, and you do careful research before answering. Turns out to be like you add that to it, and you think that they would just add that to it, but evidently not. And so it's more likely to tell you it doesn't know when you do that as well. Like it'll just go, I don't know the answer to that. It's really interesting by just adding that one little line. It cleans up a lot of stuff really quickly. Go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, wait, I did have something to contribute. Sorry.
I'm sorry, Courtney. Sorry.
I was going to say, I just opened with a joke, bad idea because move along. Okay, move along. All right. I was going to suggest Notebook LM. I've had pretty good luck with Notebook LM from our friends at Google. And to do it, to be accurate with it, if you have the manual for the digital mixer that you have, and unfortunately, a lot of days, you can usually get a PDF sometimes, but you got to dig for it. For example, on my Rodecaster Pro, it just has a website guide, user guide that's online, but you can use a link to a online guide as well. So you just paste that link in here, and then you can have it either generate an audio description, a video description, or you can just type in questions about how to use your product, and it will come up with answers that are based on what it finds in this particular user guide online. So I'd suggest trying that out. It's free, no subscription required, as long as you have a Google account somewhere. You can use that Notebook LM, and you can paste multiple PDFs in there, and refer to multiple websites, and it does a pretty good job. And it only uses the data that it finds there to answer your questions. And
Jeff.
I haven't seen the video description yet. I'm interested to try.
Have you ever thrown a manual into Notebook LM? Have you just thrown the whole manual in and it gets you a podcast? I threw the Scorpio manual in and I go, this is a really wild thing. I mean, this is a Scorpio from Sound Devices, and this thing does crazy things.
Yes, Mary, it looks like it's used professionally, doesn't it?
Yeah, the funniest it's like a 20-minute podcast about a Scorpio based on the manual. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, just to touch quickly on what you said about prompting. First of all, 100% right. I was trying to grab it, but Ronny's prompt from, I think, Saturday or Sunday's Mimo Live session, first of all, I think is a really good example of what a really detailed, well thought out prompt looks like. But also, so with the live interactive mode, the thing is, they both can and do a fairly good job at image recognition. The problem is, especially in a live interactive session, getting them to do that. Because what I have found playing a lot with image recognition is that, and now this whole thing about whether or not you can choose which model you're using, is it wants to assume the need for efficiency, and efficiency is not going to do the most in-depth image analysis. It's going to look, and I've had it, I go back and ask it, why did you mess this up? And, it will tend to look at, for instance, bits of an image and assume the rest is similar. So it'll try and make a lot of assumptions that is usually fine for most responses and generalizations. And you really have to make sure that you're forcing it and you're confident that if you're doing any image recognition, that it is truly seeing and looking at what you want it to. And then it can do a good job. But that's tough when you're in this interactive mode.
Yeah, I will say that I get an incredible amount of value out of a lot of the AI tools, but I will say that it is very driven. It is almost 100% how you prompt, and not stretching past what it can do, and understanding how to keep your elbows in and ask the question the way you want, and then also progressive questions. Like I don't ask it compound questions. I may take a still, but I've literally never sent a video to AI, or a live video or anything else like, what are you seeing? Just because I don't have any confidence that it would understand what it was looking at. But I will say that I use it all the time in random places. And sure, there are places where as soon as I start getting paid, I hire people that have been doing this, and generally minimum number of years on something that I'm getting paid for someone to work for me is probably 10 years. Like they've been doing this for 10 years, maybe, and the average number of years that most people that I hire have done this are 20 years. so like on average. So I definitely agree with some of the chat. Mickey and Tim are going back and forth of, hire someone that really knows it when I'm around them. The advantage that I have is like we just worked with a company called M3, which is incredible truck. And just hanging out in the truck with the audio engineers, increases my understanding of audio. just being in the room, like I don't have to chat, I don't have to prompt, I don't have to do anything else. I just got to sit around and, listen to them talk and watch the things go. And I've learned something. So I definitely agree with the, find someone, but I work on a lot of stuff that is also, I'm volunteering. We're figuring something out. We're doing, other things like that. And in those cases, if I can find someone that will help us, I do, but I'm not usually stopped by that. Like I'm usually, okay, what is this? How does this work? What does this do? And I'll sit on, and I find that I learn a lot by just doing it. And, going out into the jungle with a machete and asking ChatGPT which vine to cut. So I learn a lot that way too. Go, Jeff.
And I'm curious if anyone or what everyone else's experience with these are. The one thing I've also found is in a specific conversation, once it makes a mistake, I've found it completely useless to try and get it back on track.
Oh yeah,
I find that I have to.
That's bad.
Yeah.
Bad prompt.
Yeah.
I just start over again, which I wish I could do in conversations, because then I ask a bad prompt and I get a bad answer. But now you can't erase it. You can't erase it in real life. That's really complicated. You're like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. So like asking someone who's really into 2398, can we do this in 5994? I mean, you can never take that back. Like they're just going to be upset the rest of the day. So anyway, next question.
Paul Walhus in Austin, Texas asks, with regard to Boya mic noise cancellation, what is cancellation depth?
Go ahead, Courtney.
You're out of your depth here. The Boya microphone, which was another question that Paul, it'll come up later probably. The Boya is this little microphone called Magic that has these two little capsules that go in there and has a built-in cancellation, supposedly AI, we'll see on what it uses. But you have settings, you can set the cancellation evolution, they call it, to -10, -15. So it's basically, it attenuates the background sounds in 3 different steps, 10, 15, or 20 dB. And of course, with noise cancellation, it does degrade the quality of your audio. So you want to be able to adjust it to do as little noise cancellation as you can get away with. And because the more you add, the thinner your mic will sound and the less quality audio will be delivered. But funny little microphone, don't know how well it works with 2 little wireless mics that are nested inside like little suppositories inside this tube that you can use either as a directional mic, on a boom, handheld, or on top of a camera.
Next question.
Douglas Carmichael asks, I've heard of festivals and venues using DI for all synths and other line-level instruments on stage, even if the instrument has a balanced output. What would that be for phantom power isolation?
I don't know what it is. I can tell you that a lot of times venues build up patterns of, this is predictable for us. They just don't care. Like they don't care what's there. Like just give me the thing that you're gonna, and they'll just plug into those things because it has less to do with, what the device. They don't want to try to figure the device out. And Mickey said that for consistency of signal paths across inputs, when you have 40 to 80 channels of line check in 5 minutes, there's not much time in bespoke head amp configurations. So that's exactly, it's just like it's a pipeline, and like everything goes into that pipeline, and it's just easier for them to manage. So I think that's what's happening there. Typically, is they just want to standardize on the process that they know. Next question.
Tony Mobley in Noonan, Georgia asks, as a paid user of ChatGPT, is it time to drop down to the free version since I am not using all the features of a paid version?
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, this is an easy thing to test, Tony. Just use, another email address and set up a free account in parallel. And for a little while, put your prompt into both. and judge not just the responses, but the speed and quality of the responses. And that'll answer it for you, because some of these things are some of the qualities of what happens with any paid account versus free account is also going to be not just the features, outright features maybe you're aware of, but again, the speed, how it processes it. I've had, for example, in fact, I did this exact test the other day, and my paid account gave me a pretty good answer, and the free account lied to me and said it can't do that. Not that, you need to upgrade, whatever. It just said it's not able to do that, which was a lie.
Yeah, I find the answers are better. Like it's using a different reasoning model. And oftentimes you get stuff early. I mean, it depends on how much you're using it. I use it enough that it's not like I'm getting rid of almost all my subscriptions to almost everything. Like if I haven't used it in 2 or 3 weeks, I'm dumping it. Like I dumped this week, or last week, I dumped Netflix and Disney and Max. Like I'm just like I don't watch these enough to do this. If there's a show I want to watch, I'll turn it on, But I'm just not using them enough to make it worth it. And so and lots of little plugins that I was paying for and everything else. Like if I haven't used it in 2 or 3 weeks, I don't use it. ChatGPT is not one of those. Like I use it every day, all day. So I don't know. How you use it, it does remember that you will have less credits. So if you're using it all the time, you may find that you run to the end of the road, or that its answers, if you get into a complex interaction, may become less useful as you go. So remember, you only have a certain number of tokens per chat. So you have to be kind of careful of that as well. So it's for $20 a month, it's a pretty good deal in my opinion. And I'm an anti-subscription kind of guy. Next question.
Tim Snyder in Louisville, Kentucky asks, it drives me insane to watch content creators holding the little DJI mics when interviewing others. Why is this something that people are doing now?
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, this drives me cuckoo as well. For me, it's more the folks that handhold the Blue Yeti, which is just magnifies, the slightest handling. If a cricket burps next door, it picks that up. So it is really, I think, ignorance is bliss. Most of these folks are not technical folks, much less audio engineers. They have no idea why they shouldn't be doing it. All they know is some great company has come up with this cute little mic, and it's cute and it's adorable and it's easy. You don't have to pack it. It doesn't take up a lot of room. It's got that cute little furry little thing that you can put on it where it looks cute. It feels nice. It's adorable. It's not in the way. It's all those things. And we've almost, with all of the audio processing that comes along with it, we've artificially given them the notion that they will get, usable quality. Again, they're not going to detect the subtleties of why that's not great audio, but it's good enough audio. And one thing we've learned post-pandemic with all of the audio coming out of journalists and everything else is the bar has really been lowered for all audio. So this is giving them good enough audio.
I go, Courtney.
There's probably a couple of reasons. Lack of planning is one. The other is, like Jeff was talking about, they've really lowered the bar on a lot of this stuff. And a lot of these influencers, end up using phones. So you have to find some kind of phone interface that could handle a handheld mic for doing man-on-the-street interviews. So it's a lack of forethought. So they'll just have their one wireless that they're used to doing their blogging with. And then they're going to come up and ask somebody something. They realize they don't have it. So they take their mic off and just hold it in the face of the other person. The other reason is if they've got the DJI mics that come two in a package, and they put one on themselves and they just use the other one as a handheld, they don't put it on the other person because they don't want to lose it and forget it. Because if you're doing man on the street interviews, the one strange thing you don't want to happen is to stick a lav on somebody who you don't know, never met before. They're on the street. You finish your interview and you forget, oh, that's my microphone. They jump in a car and they're gone, and goodbye, several $100 microphone. So for means of maintaining control of the microphone rather than placing it where it actually should be placed, which is on the other person.
Good, Jason.
Why are they doing this? Well, because ironically, influencers are extremely impressionable, one. And two, I've got to hand it to DJI as was one of the few companies that in smaller circles has managed to do that white earphones thing that Apple did so long ago with iPhones.
I think if you're going to go tiny like this, you should go to these little ones here. I think that's what they're going to do with. It's like it looks like a little SM58, but it's like 2 inches long. I think people should start doing the interviews with that mic. I think if you're going to go small, and part of me that feels like we should make one, but like put a reasonably good little, put like a reasonably good lab in there or something like that, and just like hide it and put it in there, like put a little Countryman in there, and then put the little thing on, and then you have like the little. I think that's the trend that we should start. I think that's a more reasonable trend than what we have right now. Next question.
Paul Walhus in Hot Springs, Arkansas asks, anyone up for an anti-gravity watch party on Thursday morning at 6 a.m. Pacific, 8 a.m. Central on after hours? And this is from the QR code.
So hopefully Paul will be there at 6 a.m. tomorrow on after hours. I'm actually I have a job in the morning. So Thursdays I go into a theater. So I won't be there, but hopefully they'll be showing something cool. And Paul has volunteered by asking this question to be in after hours to watch it with whoever is there. So go into after hours at 6 a.m. tomorrow Pacific Standard Time. Paul's going to be the host, and he will have you all talking about whatever is coming from Insta360. Next question.
Funsuk Dorje asks, I have to record a Microsoft Teams meeting with 10 remote participants and 8 in the room. There will be 2 screens in the room. How could I have a gallery view in the gallery view and speaker on each screen in the room and a speaker view for each of the remote attendees? Please advise.
I go, Chris.
I don't even know if that's possible. No, it probably is possible. I wouldn't try to do it. I would seek outside help. We have a client who they banished Zoom. They said, nope, we're not going to use Zoom. Zoom is bad. Never using Zoom. We're going to do everything in Teams. They were doing big shows in Teams, and it became such a nightmare that they reneged on their no Teams rule, no Zoom rule. And they've been working with Tucker and Jonas. They have a little side company that does this. They can do this in Teams, and it may be worth your while because of the complexity, to seek somebody who's done it before. I don't know how to do it at all. I know when to call for help, and that's who I call for help.
Yeah, this is a couple people kind of thing. So I think that's the thing you want to look at. I'm guessing you said how can I have a gallery view in the gallery view and a speaker on each screen? I mean, I think that I would probably, if I had 2 screens there, I'd be tempted to put a gallery on one side and the speaker on another. Like whoever's talking would probably be the thing that I did on the other screen. And I think then you would need to use, I think at that point it's a pretty complex pipeline, because at that point you want to use probably the NDI outputs from Microsoft Teams, which I haven't used in a
I would
time.
start by basically storyboarding every look that you need to see, whether it's a look in your control room that you need to see or a look that the audience needs to see. Start by doing that, and then start labeling what machine has to do what and where. And I'll tell you that Tucker and Jonas do this all in the cloud, and they set up simultaneous backup control rooms on each coast or different continents if need be, and they can do failover switching in a fraction of a second. But I would seek help. Somebody's done it before.
Yeah. So but I think that the thing that gets you is not the video. The video you'll figure out pretty quickly. It's the audio. Like the audio is always the deep water here, is because if you have open speakers and a mic, and what happens is that, especially if you delay the audio for any reason or you do anything else, and when you get into a room, you have some delay just from distance, and you end up with loops. And we've just seen people rip their shows apart, by not being afraid enough of the audio. And we tell people so there's a couple things that we do when we do point to points. So we do a lot of point to point, or I've done a lot of point to points. And one of the things that we do is we say, hey, the day before, I need to, when you're in rehearsal, I need to rehearse this whole thing in a pretty close environment to what we're going to do. Because oftentimes I'm working with an engineer that is remote, and so we need to talk them through dialing that in. The other thing is that we always want these interactions to happen after a break. So we want a break for cookies or lunch or whatever. That gives us time to set it up, test it, make sure everybody's working. What we see people have trouble with is they get into it, they try to jump into this in the middle of a session where they didn't have any time to set up or prep and something changed, and now they're in trouble. And so that would be the thing is that you want to make sure that it's all working. You got to have the people that are, if they're going to be really remote, anybody who's speaking or interacting with that audience has to be available early. You can't just have them drop in and have it work. You really want people to have in-ears, so they had some kind of headphones if they're remote. It just takes one element out of the system, so you don't have echo cancellation on both ends. Because remember that if you have echo cancellation, they're going to be pushing each other down. They're going to be stepping on each other, and it mutes the other side so that it doesn't, the audio, the cancellation becomes problematic. And I will say that if there's any way you can move from MS Teams to Zoom, the Zoom has a lot more production tools. It's not close anymore. So it's not, I just did an event with a company that does a lot of WebEx, and it was a Zoom meeting. I was like, so that's interesting. So, trying to, because it's just way more advanced than what they have there. Next question.
Tommy Chance in St. Paul, Minnesota asks, I'm setting up a Mac Mini M1 to replace my old Windows unit. AI says to use the Apple TV Hardware Encoder. Do you folks do that? I don't recall ever hearing anything about that before. And he says he's a Mac rookie.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, this I would be willing to bet is very similar to some of the problems we've been discussing. It is both the case, to what Alex said, it is most likely partly due to the prompt, perhaps not detailed enough. But I also don't want to fault Tommy because he probably asked a reasonable question. And out of curiosity, I typed in that phrase, and very quickly I got this OBS forum post. So I'll be willing to bet. So you didn't give much detail about what your use case is, but what this refers to. So probably either it made a mistake or perhaps you didn't specify, probably refer to hardware assisted, which is very likely. But there is this specific option in one of these OBS output settings and there's a number of these settings for Apple hardware assisted encoders specifically.
I think ChatGPT is not doing anything. It's not giving you, and there's nothing that there's. Apple TV doesn't do encoding, so it's not. This isn't the app. If it says Apple TV Hardware Encoder, that doesn't exist. The key, Tommy, is to tell us what you're trying to do. So what are you trying to do with the computer? You got to tell us what you're asking it to do. Next question.
Tim Snyder in Louisville, Kentucky says, has anyone used a MixPre to clean a stereo audio signal before it enters the ATEM? We record lots of stuff in large stadiums that have some ambient noise that could use some cleaning.
Go ahead, Courtney.
You can. There's something from that works in the more recent MixPres, the MixPre 3s and 6s, called Noise Assist. You have to buy it. It's a license per channel that you have to pay, and it does a really good job of removing background noises. If you're just recording these and not live streaming them, I'd save the noise removal for later when you can use something like Cedar or something that's a little more competent and you can adjust it and tweak it until you get it just right, rather than setting it and going with whatever you get. The problem with going into an ATEM from a MixPre 3 is you just have an unbalanced output on it. This is the output side of the MixPre 3. And you just have, for audio analog outputs, you just have the stereo out. And you can't go into an ATEM with a USB input. So you'd be better off if you used it as a USB interface and brought it into a computer rather than using the ATEM as your input. You can then come out of that stereo Mini 3.5 and go into one of the Mini 3.5s on your ATEM, And make sure you set it for line input level and stereo so that you get both channels. And you don't have DC on that, which if you have it in mic mode on the ATEM, it will put DC on that little mini plug, and that can cause noise every time anything moves that plug around. So be cautious of that, and it's unbalanced. Keep that mini plug wire as short as possible, less than 3 feet if possible.
Go, Jason.
I'd like to know what kind of things you need to be filtering out of your stereo signal. I can't say that Noise Assist can or can't do this. I've never tried it, but I can tell you that a good pair of ears, a good A1 should be like a surgeon with EQ, and they should be able to eliminate most of this, and I think that's going to be a lot more predictable.
Next question.
Paul Walhus in Austin, Texas asks, do you have a use for the new Nanlite wand?
Go ahead, Courtney.
I took a look at this. It's basically, I don't have a picture of it up right now, but it's a palette. It looks like one of those things that they wand you with at the airport when they're checking for metal. Only it has LEDs. It has RGB WW LEDs, so that you can set the color on the wand to be any color. So it'd be good for a colored fill, and it has batteries in the handle of it, so it's handheld light source. I imagine you could use it. We've used these all the time for years. When the KinoFlow first came out with their single tube KinoFlows, that we used to put them underneath for actresses, underneath the lens, just to fill in around the eyes a little bit, turn it way down. And you might want a little diffusion on it because it's a rows and rows of those LEDs, and those little point source LEDs tend to create a lot of shadows. So you want to make sure you put some diffusion in front of it to break that up so you don't have a lot of micro shadows, creating micro wrinkles in your micro face. But it can be used for special effects lighting if you want to add an accent light to the background or something, or light something up, and use it as the last minute. But it is battery powered. I imagine you can plug a DC power supply into it if you're going to be going all day with it.
Yeah, it's got USB-C in, so you can use it there. You can also put a Sony-style battery in there, so you can see that you have the MPF batteries that a lot of us use. So that would make it easy. You can, because it's got USB-C, you can also, I guess, put something bigger in there if you want. It has a diffuser that you can put on top of it that'll diffuse it out. You probably use it for a lot of things. I can definitely see myself using it. I don't. I'd have to find a time that, it's usually a job that causes you to get something like this. So, but here you can see someone just using it as an overhead light here, and I could see that working. It's you just got a little case. Look at that. It's so nice. I have no idea how much it is. So if it's not too expensive, I could see myself using it.
It could also be used in cars for simulating dashboard lights. You're doing a mobile shot.
Yeah, we've done that a lot. Like we used to do it with the light panels. You go like this. So you have someone in the car, they're in front of a green screen, and you have a person going like this that just kind of simulates something going past them, street lights or whatever. And so you could use the wand. It looks like it's pretty convenient. Like I think, I don't know what I would use it for today on a project, but I'm glad that I know that it exists. It's definitely something I can see myself grabbing onto. By the way, if you have questions and you if you want to log in and be part of the conversation, oftentimes there's a great conversation going on in chat. There's like half the information of the show is in the chat. So you can go to officehours.global/join and sign up, and you'll get an email, and then you'll start to get emails. And those emails will have access to Discord and also to Makana, which is where we have the chat and the questions and the voting. If you don't want to log into any of those things, you can go to askofficehours.global or just use that little QR code, askofficehours.global. You won't have to sign in. You can just ask your question, and we'll get to it as fast as we can. Next question.
Paul Walhus in Austin, Texas asks, is producer Noah Hawley's Alien Earth on FX technically up to the legacy of the long-running Alien series? And includes the link to FX Networks.
Go ahead, Jason.
Full disclosure, I haven't seen it. I believe it premiered yesterday. I heard Bob Modello's quick take on it, and he thought it was one of the best new pieces of TV that he's seen this season.
Okay, well, there you go. No idea. This is this is Alien. It's a series, right? That is based on the idea that the aliens finally made it to Earth.
Yeah, it's actually based on prior to the first Alien. The idea is, yes, that did happen on Earth, and one of these megacorps kind of covered it up.
Oh, there you go. Okay. We haven't seen it yet. So, but and I think the problem is that I think FX doesn't live anymore. I think we've now gotten so diverse, and people like me getting rid of most of my subscriptions. I don't know where I'd find it anymore. So, next question.
Paul Walhus in Austin, Texas says, would you use the new Boya Magic microphone, which has 4 uses: clip-on, handheld, desktop, and on camera?
Go ahead, Courtney.
Me, probably wouldn't use it. I tend to shy away from anything that has magic in the name.
The question, Courtney, is: did you ever use the Magic Jack? You did, didn't you?
I have 2 of them in my home.
I know
now. If you call me Magic Jack.
So not always, but for professional use.
Anyway, taking a look at this, this is one of the most interesting packaging ideas I've seen in a while. It has this combines 2 little 2.4 gigahertz wireless mic capsules, like these 2 little things that look like these little capsules down there, about the size of a horse capsule, and they fit inside this caddy, which I assume charges them and uses them as a microphone. So the one in front then operates as your microphone, and the other one just gets charged in there if you're using it handheld, or you can open it up and use the output of that thing as a source, and you can clip it on your hat. And they're pretty small. And it has built-in AI noise reduction at 3 different levels, which we talked about before. So it'd be interesting. It all depends on what it sounds like, And a microphone, it can be a great, interesting industrial design and concept and multi-use, so that you can use this one thing as a wireless. You can use it as handheld. You can mount it on top of your camera, or you can use it as a little boom on a fishpole, maybe. It's all in how it sounds. I have not listened to it.
Next question.
Andre Delay in Berlin asks, Ronny, can you elaborate a bit on the outcome of the last MIMO workshop? Sadly, I couldn't attend.
I don't think Ronnie's here, so we can't answer that question. But I would say that the MIMO workshops, if you see them pop up, they're usually pretty good. A lot of them are happening on Sundays right after the show. And having Oliver in there and a couple people working on the MIMO workshops have been super useful. So I would highly recommend them if you see the announcement. Next question.
David Brady in New York, asks, I've got Unifi gear throughout the home, looking for an outdoor AP or other way to get better signal outside. What's available?
Go ahead, Jason.
Okay, assuming you are actually in New York, this is going to be a challenge, and it's going to be a challenge no matter what you're doing with Wi-Fi, because saturation is a real thing and you can't bend physics. That said, the outdoor APs are good. The higher level access points that Ubiquiti makes also have an outdoor mode. If you go way into the settings, you can turn on an outdoor mode that I believe the FCC only clears explicitly for outdoor use. I'm not sure why or how, and I don't even know what it does. I don't think they're clear about that. But yeah, any of the higher end APs are also going to be at least, I want to say IP67, kind of like the AirPods. They can get rained on, but they can't get submerged. So I think it'd be pretty good there. Just be sure that you plug up that little hole where the Ethernet goes in.
Yeah, and Jeff Keithley said that use the Unifi AC Pro AP, and the one that I have is the U7 outdoor, and it works great. So I'd recommend that one. Thank you to all the producers for all the great questions. Keeps the conversation going. We've been doing this now for we've done this 1900 and some times. So we've done we're close to 2000. So we really appreciate all the great questions from the producers. Thanks to the panel. Can't do this without you. Great conversation as expected. So thanks so much for being here, and thanks to the incredible production team that makes this possible every single day. Again, we do this every day, through the holidays, through the Sundays, through the Saturdays, through the Fridays. Every day we're doing this, and it takes a team to put it together, and we really appreciate everybody's contribution. Today, the Tlaloc Traversal, if we had done this in person, 42,000 miles, 67,000 kilometers, and that is 330 million bananas for scale. All right, let's go ahead and jump into after hours.
I don't know if you were kidding, but I've seen actual interviews with people using that little baby.
So have I. Lavs with like, a little,
no,
like
not
just
the
a little.
lav, that little baby, like toy-looking microphone.
We need to make it more of a trend.
That's right.
Total,
take a toilet paper tube
absurd.
and an AirPod case. Like,
they should
there
really
it
do
is.
it. Have you seen any of the AI baby things where they're interviewing the babies?
Oh, it's terrifying.
It's really funny. Some of them are a little like, okay, it's not that funny anymore. You see a bunch of stuff and then you go, okay. Then you get really picky. Like at first you go, this is the funniest thing ever. And then you're like, okay.
And you're like, 30 seconds later, I'm over it. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody should do a sitcom with the Sasquatches. You could do a whole series. I'd watch the whole thing.
There's so much Sasquatch vlogs on there.
Yeah, it's funny. I think that this is the problem with AI is that you go, wow, that's really funny. And then about 10 videos